workbook. Since before you joined, I was just sitting there by myself, staring into space, you know, and it is trying to figure out which one this is. I think it's this one. I hope. Now I can fix it. Okay, share. Where are we screen sharing? We see Zoom, we see my slides. Okay. Okay, let's do this. Whoops, I pushed the wrong button. I know how to use Google Slides.
I need to
We're
do
doing
chat
an
here.
introduction to Google Slides, but I realize that it's kind of mistitled because, of course, I'm going to be talking about teaching, but I am going to make the assumption here that I want to go over some of the basics. And even if you're a Google Slides user, you know, you don't always have every little piece. You might have lost something. So I'm going to point some things out that I hope is new for some of you, refresher for others, and completely boring for some of you. Yeah, so I know that. So I'm going to do my best to be funny. And I've got these great slides from Slides Mania, so I always enjoy having fun-looking slides. And you are premium members. Thanks for joining in my webinar. For anyone watching on Facebook or YouTube, you can join at alexkeeler.com/membership if you'd like to join in these webinars. And you also get to have access to the archives as a premium member. And I need to, I forgot to make someone co-host. All right, Tasha and Mimi, I made you co-host so you can help me.
Oh no.
Knit people. You know, if whoever gets to it. I know Michelle knows how to do it. I'm going to add her as co-host as well. Co-host.
What do co-hosts do? What do I do?
Oh, when you hear the ding noise and someone joins in after I started doing the slides, I can't really see I can't really see. So you'll just click admit. And the thing that you want to do is just do a quick check that they seem like they would be a real person and they're not like Seymour Butts. Not that all spammers use fake names, but some of them do. Okay, so my favoriteest thing about Google Slides is that it is collaborative, and we use Google Apps because we want to collaborate. So I'm going to collaborate with you. I have made these Google Slides. Anyone can edit. Anyone can edit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask you to come to slide 4. You're going to come to slide 4, and you're going to add. So now notice I'm in the toolbar. So this is one of the key things to know about Google Slides that I think even a lot of experienced users don't necessarily know. And you see this very tiny triangle next to the plus icon. The plus icon will add a slide. Right, so now I have 2 blank slides here for you to write on. But if you go to the tiny triangle, it shows all of the layouts. And I have a layout called Participate. I have a Participate layout. So we'll start with this. I'm going to give you the link. Now this link, I am on slide 4. And I said, I would like you to go to slide 4. Did you know that every slide has a unique URL? So if I'm on slide 4, and I copy the link at the top of the screen, it will open to slide 4. Uh-oh, I did need to change that. Oh, sometimes I'm not as smart as I think I am. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna let you guys do that while I edit the typo that I just noticed. And I gotta get to the chat, more chat, and I see some people are telling me things. Hey everyone, here is the slides. Now, for those of you who can see the chat, if you look really closely at the link that I posted, at the end, it says /edit, hashtag slide equals ID.g and a bunch of letters and numbers. That is the slide ID. That's the ID for slide 4. So this should open you right up to slide 4. None of you should be on slide 1. And you're going to add a slide and put your name in the speaker notes. So this is why I do this every day. Literally every day with students. I make 1 Google Slides, and I ask them, and I share it with them with edit access. and I ask them to add a slide and put their name in the speaker notes. We're going to do this every day for some reason. Add a slide, put their name in the speaker notes. So if I give them the link to a specific slide, they're going to open up to that slide. If they do a slide, I want them to get the link to their specific slide, and they turn that into me. So that's how they submit their individual work when we are collaborating. And let me see if anyone had any questions. People are talking about Slidesmania, so you just go to slidesmania.com.
Okay, so you want us to add a new slide?
Add a new slide, share a Google Slides tip, and put your name in the speaker notes. Now the speaker notes are way down here in the note area. It's not part of the slide, it's the notes area. So it's kind of my standard directions.
How do I know which slide is mine?
You're typing on it.
Oh, okay, but I thought you said add a slide, so I click plus.
So you will click the plus icon, exactly. And you'll notice when you click the plus icon, it's going to default to whatever the slide is that you're on. So if I'm on slide 4, if I push the plus icon, it's going to add that same layout. Whereas like here I'm on slide 2 and I click the plus icon, it adds a layout. See, it's blank, but the design is the same. So when you click the plus icon, it's going to add a layout that matches the one you have selected. And that's really super important. So when I click the little tiny triangle, I can see that I have a whole bunch of layouts because Paula at Slidesmania apparently went a little crazy making layouts. There we go. And I will just tell you, this just never gets old, seeing people in my same Google Slides. Like, we're working together. Students are doing work. It's amazing. If you look at what's on the left-hand side, this is called the film strip, where you see all of the little thumbnails. It's called the film strip. And at the bottom of the film strip, you'll notice this little grid. It's got 6 boxes, 3 by 2. And I click on the grid icon, and it brings me to grid view. And I love to do this when I'm doing collaborative slides. So students are all working and adding to the same Google Slides. I'll go to the grid view, and the little minus down here at the bottom, so I'm going to zoom out. You know, what do I call the gray area around the slide? I call it off canvas. When I go to full screen, anything off canvas or in the gray area does not show in full screen. And anything that's off canvas, if I were to print or download, does not show.
Oh.
Slides across there. I think I just missed when you did that.
When I did which one?
So instead of having just the film strip on the side, you have
way at the very bottom. Do you see these 2 icons in the bottom left?
Duh.
Please go ahead and push them. My view won't be impacted by your view. So it's film strip view. You notice when you hover, it has a tooltip. It says film strip view and grid view.
Okay.
So you can toggle back and forth. Also, when I'm in grid view, if I double click on a slide, it goes to that slide.
Okay.
It's real nice to see, like, oh, this student needs some help, or I want to preview or feature the student's work, and I can double click on their slide from grid view and go right to their slide.
So I think earlier when I was in the Google Docs session, I was curious how you got to see everything. Clearly that's it. So that when you don't have to collect everything from the Google Docs, you do slides. So, and there it is.
Slides for everything. And in fact, that's what I had started to do here, was to make one that says, what can you not do on Google Slides? And I forgot to actually edit that. Now, something I'm noticing right now is I can't really read, like this white font looked like an idea. Oh, it's not working. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the view menu and I'm going to choose master. I was going to get into this later, but it's going to open up whatever layout I have selected. So this is the layout that you all are using, and I'm going to modify this layout where instead of this white font, I'm going to change it to dark gray, Let's see if that looks better. Now, what you should notice is over here in the film strip, all of these have updated. This is not a beginner tip. This is supposed to be a beginner workshop, but this is not a beginner tip, is that any edits you make on this view master, on the slide master, will impact every layout that, or every slide that uses that layout. Let's see what we have here. Someone made a note. Nope, no one made a note. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go back. So let's summarize. Google Slides is for collaborating. I think I can skip around some of the obvious things. It's a presentation tool. It's part of Google Apps, these kinds of things. So one of the things that I was pointing out to you is that there is a tiny triangle. This is so important that you know this, that you can locate the different layouts or styles, designs in a Google Slides. That is the tiny triangle next to the plus icon. If you are on a slide and you click the plus icon, the same layout will be added. So that's what we've covered so far. I have given everybody edit access to this same one Google Slides, and I've told you this is like my favoriteest thing to do. Yeah, I do this every day with students. For one reason or another, I'm going to share a Google Slides with the whole class with edit access. I am going to come up here and I'm going to click the present button. This is one of the things I love, is I give students edit access to my slides, and then they add slides. I ask a question, they add a slide and give their idea. So it's a lot more active participation, less teacher-centered, more student-centered, that facilitating, conversating, so many great words. Google Slides for the win. So I'm going to click the present button. It's going to go up to full screen. Okay. And then Zoom's, of course, covering all your words. So let me just move this little guy. So that's okay. You don't have to share anything. This is an intro to Google Slides. So my first assumption is you don't know anything about Google Slides. And then my second assumption is you probably know a little bit. So if if I make an assumption that you should have known something, please just let me know. And please interrupt me. You don't have to.
I do have a question, Alice. Okay, you were talking about Slides Mania, and it's a website with templates for slides. How do I get those templates from Slides Mania over?
It says Google Slides template. You just push it. Now be careful. There's a button that you push. It says get the template.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Just be careful. It does have a lot of ads on the site, which you should expect. So make sure you're clicking on the Get Google Slides template and not accidentally on the ad.
Okay.
I did that earlier today, so that's why I mentioned it. Blank. You're going to get this a lot. People just add blank slides. They abandon them. They make another one. Fine. Don't worry about it. It's no stress. You can change the slide to 8.5 by 11 by going File, Page Setup, and using the custom options. I do that quite a lot because I like to say, what can you not do with Google Slides? You know, earlier we did a webinar on Introduction to Google Docs, and I said, don't write your essays in a Google Doc, write them in Google Slides. What's the difference? You can do anything you can do in a Google Doc. I would argue you can do it in Google Slides, but Google Slides is multimedia. So it's a lot easier to add video and images and to create an infographic out of the information. And I think it's nicer ways to add some feedback as well. So if it helps, you can change the slide dimensions to 8.5 by 11 so it looks like a piece of paper, but how long before you realize you just don't care that kids are writing in landscape? But then, whatever.
So can I ask just a quick question? When you, so you've set up your slide film strip and you've got what you want and you tell the kids to do the plus triangle, you know, like to make their own slide.
Yeah.
Oh God, I just forgot my question.
So most of the time I just use a blank slides. Like this one I got all fancy on because I'm doing a webinar and it's recording and I'm broadcasting it to Facebook. But honestly, you know, with my students, I'm a little more lazy.
Oh, so here's my question. Do you have to change the sharing settings or and editing? You have to do all that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
the default on any Google document. You know, of course, slides save to Google Drive. And so I have a slide here in a second where I make an assumption that you know some basics of Google Docs. Like you know how, yeah, anyway. And one of them is how to share documents. Now, Google Classroom is great because it automatically changes the sharing. So I don't have to think about it. But if you're not doing it with Google Docs, you got to click the share button and switch it to anyone can edit and give the link. Okay. Which is what I did. You can upload a coordinate plane onto the slide and save it as a PNG, then upload as a background so as to enable students to construct their line and the coordinate plane will not move. That has, yes. And for those of you who just want to take that down a notch, when we later, I have plans, it's like my last slide though, so if we run out of time, that's the one that's going to go away. I have webinars on editing the slide master. They are recorded, I've got videos, I've got blog posts. Editing the slide master is a really big deal. It's not really a beginner intro idea, but you want to know how to do that. And so when you go to the view menu and you choose master, I just showed you that a few minutes ago, is where it shows you all the layouts and you can modify the layouts and you can add a picture of graph paper on there. Or whatever your graphic organizer is. Math teachers use graph paper as a graphic organizer. Not math teachers sometimes use something else. So I'm a math teacher. And so what's nice is any pictures that you put on the slide master are locked down. So that then they could do things on top of this graph paper without it moving. So thank you. Thank you for that tip. Hey, from Texas. That's okay. You don't have to have a slides tip, but she does know how to change the rotation. Awesome. Okay. Use an image as a background and add text boxes for students to write on the document. Yes, you can do that. You can change the, and I like to do it from the view master again. This is not a master slides master workshop. I have some of those. I've done them. I will do them again. But when you edit the master, when you edit the layouts, you are able to, hey buddy, my kid just showed up. You are able to add text that's locked down and pictures that are locked down and placeholders that give a place for where the students type stuff in. Hey buddy, I'm having a meeting. I just want to say something. Okay. I know, no, go. You don't need to real quick tattle. My baby is going to be 8 at the end of the month. And then I just basically have no more babies. It's not even basically, he's huge. He has a big heart. Okay, so Google Slide, you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna escape. So I was in presentation mode, and if any of you were adding slides or editing while I was in presentation mode, they would not show up in my presentation until I escape. I come out of the presentation, and if I were to go back in. So let me just do a quick check. Nope, that's the one I did. Okay. So this one was added since I started the present. And you can actually use any email you want for the add-ons. So if you are a premium member and you're accessing the premium content, the license is for you. It's not for your email, if that makes sense. So you're welcome to use my add-ons with any email account that you are using. So, okay, so, oh, here's one. You can insert audio. Not a beginner tip because you have to first get your audio as an MP3. Now, since I am a Google user, I have a Google phone. And my Google phone has I have a Pixel, and it has an app on here called Recorder, and it will record my voice, and it also automatically creates a transcript of whatever I said, and then it saves it to Google Drive. So then my MP3 of my voice is just in Google Drive. So if I wanted to add, I don't think I have any in here because I use actually a different account on my phone than I do for this presentation. But I just go insert audio. I just have to have, do you notice that I'm in Google Drive? You have to have audio in your Google Drive with this insert. There we go. And you'll notice that when I insert that audio, it has these audio playback options. Do I want it to start playing automatically? Do you want it to keep going even if you change slides? Do you want it to loop the audio? What do you want to have happen? So, yeah, it's just some weird music. So I'm going to put it in presentation mode. I'm going to click on it. I can play.
Ooh.
So not a beginner thing is to add audio to a slide. You do have to have it as an MP3 file. And I think you should just all go out and get a Pixel phone and then problem solved. You can also just use Screencastify, record whatever you want to say in Screencastify, and Screencastify does download as MP3 audio file, and that is another way, amongst others, to get audio into your Google Slides.
Okay, Alice,
Yeah.
what is a Google phone? I've never heard of a Google phone.
Pixel.
Sorry?
The Pixel, Pixel. So if
It's a
you like spending $1,000 on a phone, you can buy an iPhone or you can buy a Pixel. Those are pretty much the two top premium phones for each platform.
Okay, so an iPhone will do the same thing.
No.
No. Okay.
I don't know. I don't have an iPhone.
Okay.
I have a Pixel. Now, I had an iPhone back in the day. In fact, I waited 10 hours in line with a line wrapping around the mall to get the second iPhone when iPhone 2 came out. And me and iOS 7 ended up having to get a divorce, and I am just do not miss it. And that's me. So I now use an Android phone. So my Android phone has MP3 built in, and those MP3s are going to save to Google Drive because it's an Android phone. It's Google, so the Google stuff all works together. Does your iPhone save to Google Drive? No. Can you make an MP3 on your iPhone and get it into Google Drive? Yes, you can. Can I tell you how to do that? No, I don't have one. So that sounds like something you could Google.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so I would like to make the statement is that Google Slides is the magic sauce of teaching. Oh, I don't have my math book right here. Okay, so I wrote a book called Teaching Math with Google Apps. I co-authored it with Diana Harrington. And, you know, Google's named me the queen of spreadsheets, and I just thought for sure I would just have so many, like, spreadsheet things in the book, but it just turns out that the magic sauce to teaching is Google Slides. Who knew? I, like, use Google Slides for everything, and I use spreadsheets for everything. But it's so awesome. So my question is, like, well, here's my question. What can you not do with Google Slides? Because here's my statement, though. I do not use Google Slides to give information. I use it to get information. The reason why Google Slides is the magic sauce of teaching is because teaching is not about talking. It doesn't really matter how smart you are if the kids don't learn it. So, you know, just making videos and lecturing, if the kids don't learn it, then you haven't taught it. And I can use Google Slides not to talk at the kids, but rather to talk with the students. So I give them edit access. It's a multimedia platform. It's collaboration. It is all 4 C's if you want it to be. Or it's none of them if you use it like PowerPoint. You choose. It's all in the lesson design. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to slide 15. Nope, 16. I'm going to go to slide 16. And I am going to copy the link. I'm actually in slide 17. I'm going to copy the link to this layout slide, and I am going to paste the link. That link is going to open you right up to 17. So if you click on that link, you're going to be on slide 17. And even if slide 17 is no longer slide 17 that it gets moved, it still opens up to that slide because it is, if you'll notice, the end of the link shows the slide ID, not the slide number. So it doesn't show 17, it shows the ID, and the ID doesn't change no matter the position. So that's really nice. So now that you're on slide 17, please add a slide. So you can just click the plus icon. Another trick is you can just push enter. So if you click on the slide in the film strip and push enter, it adds a layout. You're going to put your name in the speaker notes, and you're telling me what can you not use Google Slides for? What assignment do you have that you cannot use Google Slides for? And I'm going to warn you before you write them is I am not a fan of dragging and dropping. I think you should use Quizlet for that. Dragging and dropping labels is low critical thinking. And I just have a philosophy that DOK1 is not my job. I went to college, I'm a human being, I have so many talents that go well beyond what you can do with a YouTube video and a digital quiz. Like, I'm gonna spend my time and effort doing what really requires some high level training and talents, things that I learned, in college. So the dragging and dropping in labels, you can do that in Quizlet diagrams, and it will automatically tell the students if they're doing it right or wrong. And for low critical thinking, immediate feedback is better for low critical thinking tasks. So just warning you, I'm not a fan of making those. They look fun and fancy, but they're low learning. Okay, so you're telling me what can you not do in Google Slides, and I'm, I'm gonna tell you how you can. Whatever you put on there, I'm like, of course you can. Or maybe I'll agree with you. Let's see. But I just love giving edit access to my Google Slides with the students, and it's really risk-free. Google Slides is designed to collaborate. Now, one of the features of Google Slides that's really essential to know is version history. And if the students mess up your slides, you just go to version history and you restore it back to before they messed it up. It's risk-free. So, I teach 6 periods of Algebra 1, or I used to. I'm going to teach geometry this year. I would teach 6 periods of Algebra 1. So first period, I'd have them edit my slides. I'd have my presentation and my lesson, and I have them contribute to it. And then at the end of first period, I go to the version history. I go File menu, Version history, see the version history, and I restore it back to the way it looked at 6 o'clock in the morning before the students edited it. Now second period comes in. We have fresh slides, but they're the same ones, and they add to it, and we collaborate on it together, and we have class discussion using Google Slides. And at the end of second period, I use version history and restore it back to the way it looked at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I do this 6 times. I use the same one Google Slides with all 6 periods because collaboration is risk-free when you use Google Slides. Now this is pretty new that you can name the current version, which is super helpful. And then remember in the last workshop where I didn't name the current version before I had you guys edit my stuff? And
right.
Gosh, Alice, before this next workshop 2 hours later, you would have learned your lesson of what you already know. And I did not. I should have, before I had you all edit my slides, I should have named the current version template. That would have been great. Didn't do that. So when I go see the version history, I can see over in the side, on the right-hand side, that people were editing it. I'm going to put this little triangle so that I can get more, it collapses the edits together because it's constantly saving. So you'll see every couple of minutes, it is capturing an edit. So what I want to find is what did this look like before you guys edited it? So that would be this one. Okay, right? This is what before you edited it. So I'm going to name this one template. And then, so what I was able to do, actually, I can just click on where it has the date and I can just edit. I can just type on it and change. I can name it. At this moment, this is what it looked like before you all edited it. Okay, and then I could restore this version to roll it back. So if right now, it always happens, someone changes, please don't, changes the theme, draws something inappropriate, I don't know, whatever. Actually, I do know. I've got a whole list. I say, what could go wrong? Bingo. It's okay. It's okay. And because I can just restore it right back. I just do restore this version, and I just get rid of whatever anyone did that was weird. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my slides. And here we go. We ready? I'm going to click present. So there's the present button. Students easily adding audio. Well, if they have Chromebooks, they can use Screencastify. They can say whatever audio they want on Screencastify. They download as MP3 to their Chromebook, and then they can add it to Google Slides using the insert menu. So I see that's a yes. Give a self-grading test like Google Forms. Google Slides does not self-grade. I will give you that one. But you can link to a Google Forms as you use the Google Slides to give more information, to add some audio. If you use a Google Sites website, you can embed the Google Form side by side with the Google Slides. You can have them work together. You can also, in Google Slides, when you're on a particular slide, do File, Download As, and I download it as a PNG image file. And in Google Forms, I add the slides to Google Forms, so I have my presentation in the form downloaded. Just saying, you know. Of course you can do everything in Google Slides. It was a trick question, right? Alrighty, you can draw a blank, sounds good. You can, not only can you give audio feedback, that's one of the reasons you want to use Google Slides. Because I can record my audio feedback as MP3, or, I mean, I usually just use Screencastify, or basically any way that you can record, you can get that as a video into Google Slides, or as an audio, insert the audio in there. And that's one of the ways I 100% leave students feedback. So when I'm looking at students' Google Slides, sometimes I will turn on Screencastify, and I'll just record a quick greeting, and then I will go insert video, and I insert the video from Screencastify because Screencastify saves to Google Drive, and I add my feedback as a video to their Google Slides, and then I shrink it up so it's small, so I'm just kind of like leaving a little video notes in their Google Slides. Yeah, you can do almost anything. It has animation features. It does not have magic move like Keynote. So when I do animation, which I think is a great activity for students to do, is for them to create an animation of a process or a concept. Because they have to put a lot of thought into it. They spend a lot of time thinking about this process. And it's fun. It's so fun. That's a different webinar. I have an online workshop, and this is one of the things we do. You create a Google Slides, and you add a picture on it, and then you Control-D, duplicate the slide, and then you move the picture a little bit, and then you Control-D, duplicate the slide, you move the picture a little bit, and you Control-D, duplicate the slide, and move the picture a little bit, and you do this 150 times. That's not a joke. That's a literal 150 times. I Control-D, duplicate, and make a very tiny incremental move, and then you go to File, Publish to the Web, and you get the Publish to the Web link where it automatically loops to the next slide, and that creates an animation, and it's really fun to do. I have a blog post on that on alicekeeler.com. Okay, I am assuming that you already know how to find slides in Google Drive, how to set sharing permissions, and just basically anything that you can do in a Google Doc, like name it, share it, things like that that are the same across all of the Google products. I covered those in the Introduction to Google Docs webinar, so I'm not going to repeat it because I did it 2 hours ago. So you can go watch that one if you don't know how to do those things. So I'm going to show you how to add a slide. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you slides.google.com, just in case you're not familiar with it. Slides.google.com is Google Drive. It is Google Drive. It's just so much prettier. Look at that. It's filtered for your Google Slides. Now, if you click on the 3 lines in slides.google.com, you can get to Google Drive or other products. Not all of them for whatever reason, but some of them. but you can just go straight to Google Drive. It has a template gallery, so if you want to start with a template, you can do that. I am already bored by their template gallery, so now I just go to Slides Mania, or you can go to Slides Carnival and get fun templates, and I can open them up there. I'm going to create a blank Google Slides. And how do I add a slide into a presentation? So my first trick, though, is I'm just going to do this Alice sample slides. Let me get rid of this theme. If I click in the upper left where it says Untitled Presentation, it will match the names. And I'm going to click on this first slide in the film strip, and notice when I push enter, it adds a new slide. So I'm just pushing enter where I've got the film strip selected. So feel free to try that on the slides. I know you're over here in my slides. So these ones where you're supposed to be adding stuff anyway, like slide 17, push enter, and you'll see it adds a new slide. You want to try it.
Oh.
The other way is it does have the plus icon in the toolbar, and that allows me to add a slide, but you really want to make sure you're using that tiny triangle. These are the 11 default layouts. Although I want to know who uses XX%. What a weird layout. But one of the things I like to do is I like to give students, I like to have them use blank slides with no template. Now I teach at the university in the teacher credential program, so these are people who have graduated from college or about to graduate from college, and I have them make me a presentation from scratch, and they use yellow font. I'm like, what? How do you graduate from college and not know not to use yellow font? Like, I can't read this because we always give them a template. Now, you have to know how to create digital documents from scratch. That's such an important life skill. So I like to have them do blank slides, and then they have to make a decision as to which layout is going to clearly communicate their ideas. Don't choose the layouts for them. Like, here's a whole like pre-made notebook of templates for you to fill in these things in these boxes. There's no critical thinking in that. That's following directions. You just have to do it from blank ones. I have some that I make templates of too, but I also try to make sure I give them ample opportunity to create from scratch. Create from scratch. Okay, so that's how you add a slide. What else I got in here? How to add a text box. That's a real important one that you know how to do. I'm going to click on the tiny triangle. I am going to choose the blank layout. And if you would like to do the same, I have back in this one on the tiny triangle, I have a, that's not completely blank, but it's blanker. I have a, well, two of them are blank, but one of them's blank, whatever. You can go ahead, just do it. Just mess up my slides. I can fix it. I have a blank slides. Feel free to add one if you would like to. Did you guys, no, there's 11 of you in there. Awesome. Okay, now in the toolbar, you know your toolbar, you'll see that it has text box. It's a square with a T in it, and then I can add text. It is a little bit tricky to edit this text. Option 1, I do Control-A, select all. Control-A, select all, and then in the toolbar, I can change the font, I can change the font size, I can change the font color, you know, these kinds of things. Option 2, you click on the very edge of the text box. Do you see how, you know, it's subtle. My cursor changes into plus arrows. So it's like a regular arrow, and then it becomes like a plus. And when I'm on the very edge, and that allows me to grab and move the text box. But once I've grabbed the edge of the text box, then it's selected the whole text box, and I can change the font. I can change the font size. You know, you can like 45.5. You can just type it in there. You don't have to push the buttons. You can change the color and things like that. And where did it go? You know, this 3 dots, it depends on how wide your screen is. So I have a really big computer at my office, and so I don't have any 3 dots. It shows me all the toolbar icons. If your screen is skinny, it just kind of starts smushing the extra ones up into the 3 dots. So you can get the rest of the toolbar by clicking on the 3 dots. And I can now change the font color. Do you see how that doesn't communicate very well? You got to let kids make it cyan and yellow, and you give them some feedback like, I can't read that. Try it again. How do you learn not to do that? You do it, and someone tells you not to. That's basically it. Okay, let's add some shapes to our Google Slides. So what I'm going to do is, you'll see here is in the toolbar is the shape icon. When I click on it, it gives me options for shapes. And that's how I can add a rectangle. And I can add a circle. Now, if you hold down the shift key when you draw the rectangle and the circle, it constrains the proportions, which makes it a perfect square or a perfect circle. And I can use the paint can to change the color. Now, here's what you might not know. Did you notice that I drew a square, and then I drew a circle, and they're both gray? Watch me draw a square now. Wait, how come that's green? I'm going to change this to hot pink. I am going to make the edge orange. I'm going to make the edge thicker, and I'm going to make the edge a dotted line. I have selected this shape. You can tell because it's blue. You see the resizing handles that it's selected. And now when I draw something, it's going to match.
Oh, cool.
So that's not a beginner tip. But you should know how to create a shape so you can move it around on the canvas. The reason why why can't I use Google Slides? You can use it for everything. I can just add text box, type whatever it is. If you can type it on a Google Doc, you can type it into Slides. But this open canvas where I can insert images and more clearly display my ideas like as an infographic, I think is a big deal. Okay, what else do I have? I just got a list. Oh yes, the Explore tool. So what happens when you collaborate with students on Google Slides is they just start changing the theme and messing everything up. Because we have a strong inner desire to customize. So if I just show them how to customize their own slide, they don't have to change the whole thing. So here I am on this slide, and I click down here on the Explore button. So now if it's lit up, it says, I have some ideas for you. So I click on the Explore button, and it gives me some suggestions for how maybe this would look better. You should show this to students. So I get a blank slides, no template. I share it with students with edit access. I have them add a slide and say something, and I'm like, okay guys, click on the Explore button. Choose a layout. Now they're out of control, just so you know. It also allows me to, when I use the Explore button, is do a Google search right on the sidebar. So students do not have to leave Google Slides, because I have a rule. You don't tell kids things they could look up. I can make a Google Slides that tells kids all the information about whatever math lesson I'm teaching them, but there's not one thing that I put on those slides that isn't available in a Google search. It's 2020. We all Google search every day. That is our norm. So when I put together a slides for students to learn something, I intentionally ask questions rather than give information. I'm like, what is the quadratic formula? Not, here is the quadratic formula. I'm like, well, what is it? Look it up. They can look it up right on the side of Google Slides, And over here on images, you see that I can just click this plus icon. Let me do it on a blank slide. Yeah, right? I'm gonna add it in here. I can add the pictures and things to the Google Slides. Students should look things up. What are they gonna look up? Make that part of your lesson. Google Slides is a great way to have them have a more active lesson than just note-taking. Okay, so you wanna use the Explore tool, which allows you to design the layout or the slide and allows you to also Google search right in Slides. You can also right-click on a word. Do you see how it allows me to explore and define? Explore pulls up that explore bar on the side. Use the word tool. Right click, explore tool, pulls it up on the side. It'll also show you files in your Google Drive that you might want to incorporate with your slides. Now I have like an addiction with the drop shadow. There is no way, this is a beginner tip. It's not. But I love it so much, I'm going to show it to you. So when I add something to a Google Slides, get rid of this Explore bar, I'm going to click on this. It just looks so boring. So I almost always click on the 3 dots and go to Format Options. I can get there also by right-clicking. I believe if I right-click, it says Format Options. I go to the Format menu, it says Format Options. Choose your format options. It's in lots of places. And it allows you to make some decisions like, you know, right now this is at it's 2 inches by 2 inches. And, you know, it's at 100%. So I can change it to 70%, you know, resize it. I can rotate it and do some of these things with the size and rotation. But I pretty much just use this drop shadow button. I just turn on drop shadow. And drop shadow, drop shadow, and drop shadow. Allow me to add a picture, insert, image, and I'm gonna do it from camera because that's gonna turn on my webcam. I'm gonna insert my selfie. I like to make students insert selfies. That's one way I know that they at least touched the document and their mom didn't do the whole thing for them. I wish I was joking. I know some kids who do that, parents. Sometimes I do it. No, I don't. Okay, drop shadow. So do you see how it just, let me get rid of this. I'm gonna zoom in, view, zoom, 200%. See, it just gives it that little pop, just a little bit. I don't know. I just like it. So when I add a picture, let's do another selfie, shall we? Oh, why don't you try it? I'm on slide 35. No, wait, I'm gonna add a blank slide for you first. I'm gonna add a blank slide. I'm gonna copy the link to this. This is slide 36. Here's slide 36. So if you click in the chat, it's gonna open you right up to slide 36. And you're gonna do insert, image from the camera, and of course it'll make you give permission the first time to use the camera, and you're going to take a selfie, and then you're going to use the format options to add a drop shadow. It's going to be super fun. I'm excited. There we go. Look at that.
Oh.
Yeah, get your own slide. I see all of you on the same slide. You got to have your own slide. You can do that by just pushing enter, remember? You just click on the slide, push enter, and then put your name down there in the speaker notes so people know it's yours.
Or we could press plus.
Or you can press plus.
Okay.
Bullshit though. All right.
Okay. So then we go format options.
Format options.
Drop shadow.
Insert image from camera.
Drop shadow. I click drop shadow, and then what do I do?
Just make sure that your picture is selected, because that's all you have to do. So I go format options, and I just check box the drop shadow, and then I close the sidebar. Can't really tell because, you know, it's selected, and the selection is hiding the drop shadow. So I'm going to click off of it so I can see, like, it just looks like it's lifting up just a little off the page, just because of that, just that much more pop. And, like, I can do it with text also. So I'm going to do the 3 dots. I'm going to go to format options and go to drop shadow. So again, not a beginner tip, but it's so fun.
Connection.
Doesn't that just look so much better? I love it. And then what I want you to do is click the explore button down in the corner. Click the explore button so you can choose the layout.
All right.
Okay. Looking good, Michelle. I love it. You guys. Did you just take this photo right now? You should save this. This is like a stock photo. Looking good, you guys. Looking good.
So when I hit camera, it says no camera selected. Please check your camera's connection. I
suspect that your computer is not super awesome.
Oh, okay. It's not super awesome. Okay, so tell me what I need to get.
I'm not really sure, but considering that we've had issues with the audio and things with your laptop, and I just feel like since you and I have interacted multiple times, maybe I'm wrong, but I think some of your problems are your computer.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, it was a cheap computer, so I guess I need to get something else. Not an Apple product. I shouldn't get an Apple product.
The camera might be broken, like your microphone is broken. I'm just throwing that out as a possibility. Webcams notoriously get funky. I hear this all the time. My webcam's not working on my computer. So that is a possibility. The other one is, remember earlier where you couldn't hear and you had to go into the Zoom settings to change? You might have to like tell Chrome which camera that you want to use. Without looking at your computer, I can't really troubleshoot specifically.
Right. Got it.
Yeah.
Is my microphone working okay?
Oh, this is the best $10 spent of all time. For reals.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
You can? Okay.
Yeah, you look good.
Because I don't see myself.
I don't know. It's Zoom. You know how it is. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is you can insert video. I'm going to first do this. I'm going to use the Screencastify Chrome extension because first of all, I'm wearing a Screencastify shirt today. Woo! I love Screencastify. And I am going to use webcam only. Your work is looking really good, and I think that you could like use more semicolons. So what I did is I'm not sure in fact, I'm pretty sure it didn't show up on the Zoom, but when I clicked the Screencastify Chrome extension, it did a pop-out window and allowed me to record. I just used webcam, but I could have done a screencast, and I'll just show you now. Your work is looking really good, and I think that you could like use more semicolons. Right? I love to give students feedback using Screencastify because look at this. It automatically saves to Google Drive. That's what it says, Google Drive. Now it does take like a minute or so for the video to render and be ready to put into slides. So sometimes what I'll do while I'm waiting is I get a shape and I'm just like, did you know that shapes are text boxes? I bet you didn't know that. If I start typing, it types right in the text box. Little trick. So I'm just like, put, Screencastify video here to remind myself later. Because if I go insert video, one of the options is Google Drive. And you can see the videos right there. It's not done rendering. I made this one earlier, so I'm going to use this one. Now notice that you have under format options, you can do autoplay or mute the audio or have it start and stop at a certain point. I was doing a presentation on data science and I wanted like this 30 seconds of this data scientist saying the tools don't matter out of a 15-minute video. So I inserted it in from YouTube and I said just between this second and this second, that's all I want to show. So that's a nice feature, but you can add video. But then what I do, let me view, zoom, 50%. I shrink it down. So I give students feedback with video, and then I just make it real small, and I stick it next to their work. And I can put it off canvas. So it doesn't even have to sit on their work. Now I did a whole webinar on this. You know, let's pretend this was a student's Google Slides. I can add my own slide for feedback, and I click on background. Now, you see where it says background layout? You can switch the layout. You're like, I want something different. Okay, cool. You switch the layout. I go to background, and I change the color to light purple because purple is my color. Now I have a feedback slide. So when students do their work in Google Slides, I can add feedback slides, which I can't do. Like when I add stuff into a student's Google Doc, it jacks up the Google Doc. Here, I'm just, just adding my own slide. And I can add video, and I can take my Bitmoji, I have the Bitmoji Chrome extension, and I just drag feedback of Bitmoji. And if I drag that onto a Google Doc, the Google Doc would have been, ah! But the Google Slide is like, cool, pictures. What can you not do in Google Slides? I would encourage you to if you're going to have an assignment in Google Docs, make the assignment in Google Slides instead. It's the same except better, way better. And I'm out of time. It's hard to make a decision. I mean, I could just go all day just talking about Google Slides. We did most of this stuff anyway. You know, what I really didn't get to was the Q&A. So let me just show that. No, I'm not going to show it really quick, other than the fact that when I go to present, when you hover at the bottom, do you see it says Q&A on the toolbar? This allows you to turn your Google Slides into an interactive where students can ask questions to your slides. I'll make a whole webinar just on this because it would take me more minutes than just real quick. But I do want you to know that that exists to make your presentations a little more interactive. Okay, so any questions about Google Slides or Life or Instant Pots?
Yeah. Screencastify. I'm sorry. This is a very elementary question, but you keep talking about Screencastify. Where is that? How do I get that? All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So screencastify.com, it's a Chrome extension. So you want to install it in Chrome. You log in with your Google account. Use your school account because it's video, and video takes up a lot of room in your Google Drive, and you have limited video space, but your school account has unlimited Google Drive. So load it up with video. If you go to screencastify.com/master, that is Matt Miller's. Here's how to use Screencastify. It's a 1 hour, they give you a certificate even. You can just stay in places. So you should it's a little course, screencastify.com/master. And if you go to screencastify.com/genius, that's me, 45 minutes teaching you how to use it with Google.
Okay.
And then screencastify.com/junior is Holly Clark. And that one's for your students. And it's a really short certification for your students to do.
Okay.
So they know how to use Screencastify, because I want them to submit video explaining their thinking and their processes. Screencastify is a great way to do that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, you bet. Definitely. Any other questions?
Yes, Alice, I just wanted to verify. You mentioned that we can download or upload a slide in Google Form. So you would go to the Google Form, go to the question, and then where it says to upload a file, and then just
yeah. And so like here in my slides, I go File, Download, and I download it as a PNG. Yeah, there it goes. You see how it downloaded to my download bar?
okay.
And then in Google Forms, I'm gonna, right here it says add an image.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna upload it. I literally drag it from the download bar into the Google form. Look at that.
Now, what if I want an interactive slide? Like I want them to
Picture.
I want them to draw something, but I want it on a Google slide, but it's in a test. We would just have to go into the Omnibox and copy that and then paste it into Google Form.
Michelle, you and I are gonna have a little conversation later about we're gonna let go of tests.
Okay.
For remote learning, we can't control this, and we're just gonna assess differently. It's gonna be glorious.
Okay.
This is not an interactive slide. So now my thing is if I'm going to use Google Forms, I personally don't use Google Forms for assessment, and that's a whole other rant on something else. I mean, I'll use it for like quick formative assessment, whatever, but like tests and things I do not. But if I do, I make it completely self-grading, and the parts where you're like, hey, I want them to draw this or do these things, I do those separately.
Okay.
Because what happens is Forms will automatically mark shorthand, free response wrong.
Right.
And then the kids are mad, and it just feels crappy to get a low score. So if it's self-grading, then I let the whole thing be self-grading, the whole thing. If I have parts that are not self-grading, I put it in a different form or a different platform. So if we're talking, assessment's not a test. Those two words are not synonymous. We sometimes think they are, but assessment is lots of things. So, if I want to assess them and have them visualize it, then I go to jamboard.google.com, or I go to Google Drawings, or heaven forbid I use a non-Google product. You can use non-Google products. I do all the time, of course. I'm being silly.
Okay.
And I just make that a separate assignment, and that allows, because those are just going to take me longer to do my feedback, right? So, it's not like they're sitting there with a low score until I grade those. Now we have two separate transactions. And you can combine them together eventually.
I have a question. I spent a few hours yesterday making a bunch of slides for a program that we use called Patterns of Power.
Okay.
And basically, the format's the same every day, but you change, like the focus phrase and the examples that you give. And I made all the slides, and then I thought, oh shoot, I should have done this.
And then view master, you should have made all the slides in the layouts over here.
I know. I didn't.
It will be worth your time to start over. So make a new Google Slides, go to the view menu, go to master, and then you're going to design all of it, except you're going to be using these placeholders. And that's where the parts that you swap out, you do the placeholder. The parts that are the same all the time, use text box.
Okay. Can I take the slides that I already made and copy and paste them and then kind of redo it on top of it, or just have to start all over?
Yes.
Okay.
Control
Right.
A, select all, Control V, paste.
Okay.
Now, just the thing is, like where you had like the prompt, you're going to have to delete that because you have to insert it in as a placeholder.
Right.
You can't swap a text box and turn it into a placeholder. So you'll delete it and redo those parts.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? For those of you who are watching, this is part of my premium membership. I'm not going to say every week because I might take a vacation, but every week I do webinars. You have the opportunity to participate. You have access to all of the video archives. I email you last week's art videos once they're done, I email them to you. So you just have them directly without having to go find them. And we do a bunch of other stuff. You have access to a bunch of online workshops. And I do office hours where you can come ask me anything you want. So that's at alicekeo.com/membership. And yeah, right. Last chance. Questions?
Thank you, Alice.
You're welcome. And
Thank
then
you.
in a couple of hours, I'm doing Google Sheets, which is the best. The answer is always a spreadsheet. All right. Thanks, everybody.
See you
Thank
then.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.